I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Well, the cat's in the studio, but the cat did not catch me unawares. Just thought I'd tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I welcome you to the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here from the SHR Media Network sumptuous and palatial studios, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, and also where we are just 2 miles east of the veritable belly of the beast, the capital of Fornicalia here in Sacramento, where at night, when I exit this door over there, I'm going to smell smoke from our state of California at work. And I'm going to smell the terrible ozone and the stench of brimstone and sulfur from the evil, the locus of evil on the entire left coast. You got a belly up to the bar. We've got your seat. It's great to see you back. Angel's going to be your bartendress tonight. She, oh, excuse me, just a little bit of smoke. She pours for the best of them, and the lava lamp is in fact on right over here, indicating that you can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. You can also watch us on the SHR Media YouTube channel and the SHR Media Facebook page. I got to tell you this, we don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All we ask is that you flush the damn toilet, unlike some people didn't when I got here. Jiggle the handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Wow. I have got something of a unique show tonight. I don't customarily have 2 guests on back-to-back, because coordinating that kind of stuff technologically, hello, welcome to Whiskey Dale. Technologically, that can be a little challenging for old BZEP. Although we did do some conference calling, and I have to figure out how to make the conference calling on that screen right over there, which you cannot see, work, because that's sort of a special thing that Sackhead Sean got going for the election special. And so I need to tell you, this is critical to tell you, that on tonight for the first hour is going to be Jeff Dunitz. And Jeff has his own blog, lidblog.com, and you're doing yourself a very serious disservice if you don't trot over there quick like a bunny over to lidblog.com. So you can catch Jeff Dunitz, and he puts out at least 1 to 2 to 3 posts a day. He is much more a prolific writer than I am. It's funny, the whole social media thing seems to be a little confusing to me. So for the first hour, we're going to have Jeff Dunitz, and for the second hour, we're going to have Sackhead Sean, of all people. He has promised that he's going to come in and sit down, and we're going to chat in the second hour, since he hasn't been here since, well, the election issue. And, okay, Jeff. Jeff is not reachable. Okay, well, hang on one second. Let's stop. Let's try this again right now. Okay, let's ramp this bad boy up. Jeff Dunitz, I am calling. In the meantime, we are mesmerized by this. This could be the ping of a submarine. Oh, he says 1 second. Okay, well, I'll just stop that. In the meantime, like I said, we're going to have Jeff Dunnett's on for the first hour. And I plan to go over a bunch of the stories that he has here. Let me get out of that. He has a ton of stories, and I want to talk to him about the results of the midterms and a lot of stories that are on his show. Let's see if maybe I can get him. And then after that, after the break, we're going to talk to Sackhead Sean, and I want to get his take on the midterms as well. Now, we have arranged this in advance, and I know the phone is working, but you know what I've learned over the years is never be without material.
Please leave a message.
Okay. And he says Safari doesn't work with calls. Okay. Call me on my other account. Okay. Well, let's see. This is called a show killer. And unfortunately, the show is dying. And I don't have access to... Okay. Okay, Jeff says he has 3 accounts. And... okay. All right. Let's try this one. Jeff, is that you, sir? Are you there? Okay. Well, Jeff, you called me on the second account that you have, and that appears to have worked. So let me see if... Okay, Jeff. Whiskey Dale. Dude, you are fabulous. Whiskey Dale in chat says, please hang up and try your call again. So let's do this. Now, Jeff is saying, you want me to call you? And I said, yes. And so the other thing that's amusing is Whiskey Dale says, if only I had a producer. So I have to say, I have to say, oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's see if we've got it. Okay, Jeff, is that you, sir?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, now I've got you. I didn't realize the whole I've got multiple account things. I thought it was basically just one account. So apparently the one account...
No, but the thing is that one account is the account that you were going to call me on is only on Safari.
Oh, okay. So
Safari doesn't do calls.
Okay, so it can't stay in the States. It has to go to Africa. The call gets routed to Africa. It comes back to Europe, and then it doesn't like coming back to the United States. Okay, got it. I get it.
Well, no, wait. If it's to me, it gets routed through Israel, too.
Oh, I forgot about that. Excellent. Wait a minute. Excellent point. Thank you, sir. Okay, so thanks to Whiskey Dale, who is in chat. Thanks to Mike, who is in chat. Thanks to Dave Milner, who is in chat. And thanks to one viewer who will not be unmasked here in chat. And Mike says, are we on the air? Yes, we are on the air. And if for whatever reason you can't pick us up on Spreaker, let me check Spreaker to make sure that it looks like it's rolling. Yes. Okay. Spreaker should be rolling now. And if for whatever reason you cannot pick up Spreaker, then you can also find us on the SHR Media Facebook page. And I started live there. And you can also find us on the SHR Media YouTube channel. And we are active there, simulcasting and streaming all in one. So howdy to Dave and Mike and Whiskey Dale and one viewer. Great to see everybody here. Now, Jeff, I haven't spoken to you for a while, and a very important thing has occurred in the interim, and those are the midterms. Now, what I'd like to do tonight for the first hour with you, if I could...
I thought you were going to talk about the Jets blowing another couple of games.
Oh, did they? Oh, see, I don't... Here's the dealio. I have to be honest. I don't watch football anymore, and the reason for that is pretty clear. So I don't know who's up and who's down. To be honest, the Green Bay Packers used to be my team, but I don't even follow them anymore. So tell me first then, what's up with the Jets? Or what's down with the Jets? Oh, they're terrible. Have they won any games?
Yeah, they won 3.
Oh, a whole whopping 3 games. Ausgezeichnet. Great. Outstanding. Can't... Yep. Oh, God. Here's in chat. Whiskey Dale says, I love to bust Beezy's chops when he plays with technology. Thank you.
I'm the one who screws up technology. How come my mic is working now and it didn't work during my show?
I don't know.
That's a different issue.
Yeah, but I tell you, on this end, I can hear you just fine. Oh, there you go. Jeff Denitz is in chat now, so welcome to Jeff himself. So
I like that guy.
Yeah, he is a good guy. He is an excellent guy.
Yeah, but the only thing is, I think my wife has a crush on him.
No.
Yeah, well.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, I'll leave that to you to decide how you're going to handle that.
I'll handle that. Yeah. Right now, she's sleeping anyway.
Okay, well, that's good. Dave Milner in chat says, yeah, it's sad. I miss football. I kind of miss football, too, but they are making a very pointed point, and I am going to continue to make my point as well, which is to not watch NFL football or purchase any of their merchandise. Anyway, that having been said.
Well, but I don't follow pro football. I said I'm a Jet fan. There's nothing pro about them, trust me.
Wait, okay, that deserves another one of these, too, because that was a great remark. Great comeback. Thank you very much, Jeff.
But anyway, the midterms.
Yeah, what I wanted to do tonight is go over your response to the midterms and what you happen to think about those. And you have been one prolific son of a gun on your blog, and I need to reemphasize this for people who may just have tuned in. Jeff Dunitz has had a blog since about, I think, 2004, 2005, right around in there.
Yeah, something like that.
Because I started mine in 2004, and right around there is when I started following your blog as well. And it took off.
I started following you.
And that's where we met.
That's the fun part.
Yes, that's where we met, going back and forth on each other's blogs. Well, Jeff is an excellent writer, and he's a lot more prolific than I am on his blog. So he has multiple stories, not just one story per day. I try to produce one story per day, but I find myself sometimes challenged with that.
I try to do 3 a day minimum, except for Saturdays, because I don't write until Saturday night.
Okay, perfect. But again, you go, folks, this needs to be one of your major stops in the blogosphere on the internet. Every day is lidblog, lidblog.com. That's Jeff Dunitz's blog, lidblog.com. You need to like I say, he's prolific. It's not a blog where you're going to, it's abandoned or people don't write there very frequently. Man, he is an active son of a gun. And also, the reason I like to read him is because he has a very interesting approach to writing about a lot of conservative issues. And also because, should I tell everybody, I don't know if you really want people to know this, but what? Jeff is Jewish. And so I was reluctant. With reluctance, I say that. And he has a certain perspective and a certain je ne sais quoi with regard to his perspective on Israel, which is one of the darned reasons that I followed him in the first place, because I found out a lot of information by reading him. Hey,
but it's also a reason why I fell in with the conservative crowd. Because I happen to believe that people of faith tend to stick together, no matter which faith it is, as long as they're observant in their faith.
Right. That's a story in and of itself.
That's true.
Conservatism and especially Jews in America, or maybe even more pointedly, Jews in the Northeast, the Jewish people in the Northeast. That's another thing that just continues to confound the heck out of me. I have to admit, I don't get why so many in the Northeast tend to be, man, they're either center or hard a port. And because of the situation in Israel and the way Israel is treated by its neighboring countries and around the world, and specifically in the UN, that concept I don't grok that concept at all.
Well, it's hard because if you're reading my Jewish or Israel stuff, you have to read it from right to left.
Yeah, well, that's what Dave read in chat.
That's what Dave said, anyway.
Yeah, he said, let's see if anybody gets that. Come on, everybody gets that.
I got it, Dave.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy. Well, I tell you what I wanted to do is start with the midterms and then transmogrify into a lot of the stories that you've been recently writing on the blog. We sat down and last Tuesday, not this past Tuesday, but a week before that, you and I and Sean and Clint and a host of other people, we weighed in on the results, and of course it turned out that we copped a couple of seats in the Senate and we lost some seats in the House. Now, in reflection, now that a week and a half essentially has passed, do you have any thoughts about the midterms and or what this portends for the future of the White House and conservatives in the GOP?
Well, it's interesting because where they lost was the suburbs. And that was really strange because they did the suburbs in 2016. Mm-hmm. But in my humble opinion, it points to something that I've been saying that the Republicans or the conservatives should be doing for years. And that's targeting the anti-Semitic Democrats and calling them what they are. Because they can make inroads in that suburban audience, because that's kind of where we have to, that's kind of where we live, or a lot of the Jews live. But according to Obama, actually, they're the rich bankers who live in urban areas. But forgetting that, look, I've never used midterm elections to predict the future.
Okay.
I just think it's silly. Okay. I also think that probably the one who screwed the Republicans the most this time was John McCain.
Okay.
Because if he didn't vote no on that Obamacare thing, if he didn't vote no on the replacement, there would have been pre-existing conditions covered, and the Democrats wouldn't have their major argument.
Okay, that's a very interesting point. Although the other point, the counterpoint to that, is the fact that it would appear that definitely Jeff Flake, aptly named, I should point out, is doing his very, very level best to make sure that he is pulling off a John McCain himself and continuing to hose the conservatives and the GOP as well. So wherever John...
Well, keep in mind, even before he took office, Flake wrote a book how he hated Trump.
A book? An entire book?
Yeah, he wrote a book. Jeff Flake.
Boy, I was not aware of that.
Yeah. But, and certainly the fact that the Democrat won in a Senate race, I thought it was great when she finally won. She said, I'm going to carry on the traditions of John McCain. Mm-hmm. Because, well, she's a Democrat and John McCain was a Democrat.
Yeah. I said this last night, and I'll say it about John McCain, and I'll say it about Jeff Flake as well. You can throw Lisa Murkowski in there and occasionally Susan Collins. I just wish that people would be honest and clear about what it is that they really believe. And if they lean so far to the left, they should, honest to God, just John McCain, just as a point, or Jeff Flake now these days, just be honest and clear and declare yourself a Democrat. I think it's very
Yep.
simple. If you can vote and believe whatever the hell you want, just make sure that it comports with the party that you've chosen. The party has chosen to support President Trump. And I get that you don't like him. I get that John McCain hated him. Same for Jeff Flake and all the other never Trumpers that are out there. Hey, change your damn party. Just change it. Now, you made an interesting point, and I just found a story that I'd like to read and have your thoughts on this. This is from the New York Post, and it's an opinion piece by David Harsanil. And the headline says, "Here's the anti-Semitism the media doesn't want to mention." The 28.
Well, wait a second.
Yeah?
Did they steal my article?
No, and we'll get to that. I want to get to that. But I want to bring this out and show people that there is, again, like we already know, there is so much hypocrisy that's out there in the ether with regard to the media. But anyway, this guy Dave at the New York Post says, here's the anti-Semitism the media doesn't want to mention. And he starts it this way: the 2018 midterm is going to bring many new faces to Washington, but few will find as much adoration as Ilhan Omar. One of the first 2 Muslim women elected to Congress, Omar, who will represent Minnesota's 5th Congressional District, is a Somali refugee with a celebrity aura and an uplifting story. What went curiously unmentioned in all the flattering post-election coverage, however, is the fact that Omar, who replaces Keith Ellison, a Muslim and a great friend of CARE, I should point out, is a former...
And a great friend of Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, and that as well, because everyone knows that Louis Farrakhan certainly embraces the Jewish people. She is a former acolyte of anti-Semitic minister Louis Farrakhan, who you just mentioned, and also has some exotic, what the writer terms exotic notions about the Jewish people. In a 2012 tweet, for example, the Democrat explained that Israel has hypnotized the world. May Allah awaken the people and help them see the evil doings of Israel. Meanwhile,
we Jews are pretty good, aren't we?
Yeah, you get around. Meanwhile, the other Muslim woman headed to Congress is Michigan's Democrat Rashida Tlaib, the daughter of Palestinian immigrants. Oh, who wouldn't want to cuddle a Palestinian immigrant, right? Who wants to cut aid to the Jewish state because supporting it doesn't fit the values of our country. So supporting Israel, remember, folks, doesn't fit the values of our country. So writer David Steinberg identified 105 news stories written in the immediate aftermath of Omar's victory. This guy looks at 105 news stories right after the midterm victory of Omar. Not a single one of them mentioned that she believed Jewry possessed mind control abilities or that Israel was evil. No one called on the Democratic Party to distance itself from this rhetoric. Well, isn't that odd?
He did a half-assed job. Because last week, I wrote something called The American Jews Committed Jewicide. And it talked about how the Jewish voters voted Democratic. And it's not only those two, but you got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You got Anthony Delgado, okay, who says that Israel's not a democracy. Okay, you have,
right.
Let's see, you have the whole Congressional Black Caucus that's met with Louis Farrakhan, and I have pictures of Maxine Waters hugging Farrakhan.
Yes, I remember seeing that, yes.
Okay. You got Maxine Waters, who we don't like for other reasons, but has said at a luncheon that she won't take money from AIPAC because they control Congress. Okay. Jim McGovern of Massachusetts, who said that Netanyahu, when he came in to speak, that he spoke only to slight Obama. Okay, and he wants Israel to negotiate with Hamas, despite the fact that Hamas is lobbing bombs into Israel.
Oh yeah, and they've been incredibly active in the past couple of days. Right.
Then you got Clyburn, who's a good friend of Farrakhan. Danny Davis, okay, who went on the record twice to defend and praise Farrakhan. He's called Farrakhan an outstanding human being.
Oh, right. What a great guy.
And then there is, what's his name, from Georgia, the guy who said Guam is going to tip over.
Oh, Hank Johnson. I'll never forget his name.
Hank Johnson, who said the Jews were termites.
Yeah. Those doggone Jews.
So there's a lot more.
It's the Jews.
And the media doesn't cover. And I'll give you a better example. We had 8 years of the most anti-Semitic president in the White House.
Yes.
Barack Obama, and no one would talk about it. But they call a president who has every single one of his grandchildren are Jewish. They call him an anti-Semite.
Right. And, his, Jared Kushner and his wife, I believe, are Jewish as well. So, yeah.
And, they're observant Jewish.
Yeah, Trump,
so they're not,
he's such an anti-Semite. Oh, my God, it's so incredible.
No, he's not. And I'll tell you another reason why. He's been honored at Jewish charities. Do you know how you get honored at Jewish charities?
A lot of money?
That's it. You give them a lot of money. So, and this was before he was even thinking about being president.
BZ got that. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's just like anything else. But the real key is that he did this all before he was president. So if he did it before he was president, he wasn't doing it, or before he was running, he wasn't doing it because he thought he'd want to win the Jewish vote.
In the article that you wrote, that you just mentioned, which is at lidblog.com, this is your first paragraph. And as far as I'm concerned, this first paragraph kicks butt and kicks it out of the park. You wrote, according to exit polls conducted by Pew Research Center and CNN, in last week's midterm election, 79% of Jewish voters chose a Democratic candidate, and only 17% voted for Republicans. Thusly, by voting heavily Democratic and helping to elect at least 35 or more Democrats to the House of Representatives, Jewish America helped to significantly expand the power of the anti-Semitic, anti-Israel Democratic Party and put many of the worst offenders in key leadership positions. With their heavily Democratic Party vote, Jewish America may have just committed Jewicide. That says everything that you need to say right there in the first paragraph. And then you mentioned Alexandria.
Yeah, except the spell check kept saying I was spelling Jewicide wrong.
Of course. Yeah, because spell check would know much more than you do. Now, you mentioned Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and you wrote, oh, my God, after the break, we got about 2 minutes to go before the bottom of the hour break. After the break, I want to also hit the story that you wrote about AOC, because that also was a hit. Your next paragraph says, New York's 14th district, consisting of eastern Bronx and parts of north central Queens, of elected Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who became a media darling after she defeated incumbent Joe Crowley. Ocasio-Cortez claims that Israel is occupying Palestine, saying, I also think that what people are starting to see, at least with the occupation of Palestine, is the increasing crisis of humanitarian conditions, and that to me is where I tend to come from on this issue. Wow, that is a deep thinker. Do you not agree? AOC is a great deep thinker, Jeff Dunitz.
Well, you have to also mention that when they asked her, what does she mean? She says, I don't know. I'm not really read up on those issues. Now, do you know what she majored in at Boston University?
Intramural underwater basket weaving, I think it was.
No, that was me.
Okay, all right.
It was international relations.
Wow, then she is an incredible scholar.
Well, either that or I guarantee you there are people at Boston University who are, well, who are basically calling her or asking her to take off her bio everything about where she went to school because she's giving them a bad reputation.
You gotta say, folks, don't you love stuff like that? Okay, we're going to take a break. It's the bottom of the hour. We're talking to Jeff Dunitz. Welcome to Mike in Chat. Alan Thomas is in chat. Mary Brockman is in chat. Whiskey Dale. Simone is in chat. Dave Milner and 2 viewers who are masked and will not be unmasked here because that's not what I do. We're talking to Jeff Dunitz. When we come back, we'll get into perhaps a little bit more of the midterms, and then I want to go over a bunch of other stories that Jeff has written. So you're listening to BZ, that is me, moi, in the SHR Media Network studios, and this is the Bloviating Zeppelins, Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Don't go anywhere, pretty please.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads radio show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show?
fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
See, that was a visual, and if you were watching the show, you would have been able to see that visual. And if you do want to watch the show, you can see it at the SHR Media Facebook page and also on the SHR Media YouTube channel. Folks, we're talking to Jeff Dunitz. I am the Bloviating Zeppelin right here in the Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. And Jeff is going to be here for the entire hour. And we were talking about the midterms and about a number of his stories, and we had been talking about how, it's the Democrats, that are the anti-Semites, and certainly not the conservatives or the GOP. And Jeff had proffered a number of examples of that, and I came up with this opinion piece from the New York Post. And it continues here. It says, no one at the partisan Anti-Defamation League ostensibly tasked with stopping anti-Jewish libel, but in reality, and I'd like your opinion on this, Jeff, no one at the partisan Anti-Defamation League ostensibly tasked with stopping anti-Jewish libel, but in reality busy hyperventilating over every far-flung right-wing bigot with a handful of supporters. They didn't pay her any attention, not either one of these women.
Let me explain something to you. The ADL is worthless, okay? As a matter of fact, what I tell readers is that instead of giving to the ADL, give directly to the Democratic Party and cut out the middleman, okay?
Yeah, that's true.
But seriously, the ADL is... They've lost their mission, and they care much more about progressive politics than they do their mission to protect even human rights for everybody. I'll give you a couple examples, okay? The ADL once, when Bill Clinton supported a ban on late-term abortion, the ADL sent him a nasty letter. What does late-term abortion have to do with their mission?
Zero. Okay. The null set, yeah.
Okay, let me give you another example.
Okay.
This is from the previous Israeli ambassador's book that he wrote.
Okay.
Okay, Michael Oren. That when Obama became president, he sat down all the quote-unquote Jewish leaders. Now, all these Jewish leaders, really all they care about is progressive politics, except for the American Zionist Organization. But they weren't invited to this one. And Obama said that we're going to try to do a wedge between us and Israel. This is like at the beginning of his term. And the head of the ADL was there, and he said nothing. As a matter of fact, in 2011, just before he ran for re-election, or during the re-election campaign, the ADL sent out a notice telling people to stop criticizing Obama's policy on Israel. But he sucked. Why should we not criticize? Okay, so that's the second. And here's the worst one. When Keith Ellison, who is Louis Farrakhan's butt boy and his prize student, when he was running for chairman of the Democratic Party, people like me wrote stories about this is this idiot's history. And what happened? The ADL came out and said, you guys shouldn't be all over Ellison. Yeah, he's right, because they should be all over Ellison.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
But really, that's how blogging came to life, because it wasn't so much the lies being told, but it was the stories that weren't being told.
Yeah, which is every bit as egregious as covering a story or just outright lying, is the fact that so many things are purposely not covered by what I call the American media maggots. I'd like to remind you of another story, Jeff, that people conveniently forget about, and that the American media maggots and the leftists and the Democrats would certainly want you and insist that you forget or don't ever remember about this, but thank God there is, in fact, something called the Internet. Folks, do you remember this? Do you remember back when the Obama administration decided that it would, do what it says it never has done before it? It has never attempted to influence any elections whatsoever, right? Oh, yeah, it was the Obama administration that sent American taxpayer money, your money, my money, Jeff's money, to a campaign to oust Netanyahu. This was back in 2016. The State Department ended up paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxpayers' grants to an Israeli group that used the money to build a campaign to kick out Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the 2016 or the 2015, I think it was, Israeli parliamentary elections.
That's right.
Congress already concluded that $350,000 was sent. That's our money, folks. That's our money was sent by the Obama administration to a bunch of people called One Voice, to support the group's efforts to back Israeli-Palestinian peace settlement negotiations. Okay, but One Voice, in fact, used the money to build a voter database, train a bunch of activists, and hire a political consulting firm. They decided to hire a political consulting firm with ties directly back to the lovely President Obama and his campaign. And
Obama also sent one of his hitmen, one of his political hitmen, over to work with them.
Yeah. And this all set the stage to get this anti-Netanyahu campaign going. And who found that out? Oh, yeah, it was the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. They issued a bipartisan. At that time, you could actually set out official bipartisan staff reports. But in one kind of a brain-glazingly kind of shocking finding, that committee said that the folks called One Voice even told the State Department's top diplomat in Jerusalem of its plans, what it was going to do, in an email. But the official Consul General a guy named Michael Ratney, claims, he never saw them. He never saw them.
Horseshit.
Yeah, he said, no, come on, Jeff, be conciliatory here. He said he regularly deleted emails with large attachments, okay? Who likes emails with large attachments? Okay, so what that does, though, is that is a direct violation, folks, if you didn't know, of open records laws for his department. Where'd he learn that? That wouldn't be from former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, would it? No, nothing like that.
No.
So your money, folks, in 2016 went to go against Benjamin Netanyahu, but we never influence elections, and certainly Obama was the most transparent presidency in the history of history. Isn't that right, Jeff?
My favorite thing about Obama's transparency is when do you remember when Joe Biden had a committee meeting to talk about transparency? And
no.
he didn't let the press in?
Oh,
this is true story.
I know. Someday I wanted to do at least a 15-minute bit of all the stories that I could find where Obama locked the press out of things that he was doing. Because conveniently, the American media maggots forget about that stuff and yell about
It's interesting,
Donald
though,
Trump.
because during the Obama administration, the press used to complain about their handling of the press.
Yeah, regularly.
Right? And what they don't appreciate is the fact that the Trump administration is so open to the press. He's always answering, like they keep saying, well, he only hasn't had a lot of press conferences. Well, yeah, but every time he walks to a plane, he takes questions for 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. And here's the motivation. Like an actor, you got to find your motivation. What's your motivation for dealing with the press if you're President Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head? Because, you get so many kudos, and nobody gets up and tries to be pedantic in front of the president, do they? Nah, nothing like that. Hey, by the way, welcome to Andy Wood in chat. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it there. So overall, though you don't generally like to make midterm, resolutions about that, Sackheads Clinton and I were talking last night, and he thinks that losing the House is not the worst thing in the world. And I would kind of tend to agree with that as long as we hold the Senate. And I think at this point it looks like we're going to keep the seat in Florida, although, oh my God, Jesus, Florida. Oh,
let me tell you something.
Oh, Jesus.
My wife is a CPA.
Yeah.
I think you know that.
Yes.
She's every year she has to take a couple of days to go in tax seminars to keep her license.
Right.
So she took 2 days of tax seminars on the new tax law.
Mm-hmm.
And she came home today. She says, you know what, Jeff? And my wife is a Democrat. Other than that, she's the most wonderful woman in the world. Okay. She said, I think that people don't realize how much money they're gonna get back because of the new tax law. And people are really gonna get more money back than they've ever expected. She says, and that's when they're gonna figure out that this was a good deal.
Well,
I really think that the basic for everybody is money on the table. And between that and now oil prices going down,
yes, they are. Even in California.
Well, the reason it's going down in California is sad because everyone's getting burned to death. But
yeah.
And I don't mean that as a joke.
No, you don't mean that as a joke. I corked off on the Sackhead show last night about that for about half hour.
It's disgusting. And what's really disgusting is that Brown is making it a political issue. Because if you don't like climate, if you don't think climate change is bullshit, if you think climate change is bullshit, those deaths are your fault.
Right. They land at your feet, to which I reply, no. It was, as we discussed last night, it was Jerry Brown that the Senate and the Assembly in California came out with a bill, a wildfire suppression bill, to throw more money at wildfire suppression and also at mitigations in our dense forests that no one has been able to log for decades. And it was Jerry Brown who decided it would be a great thing to veto that bill completely in 2016. So the 50-plus deaths, and I believe it's going to be in the triple digits shortly, all those deaths should be laid at the feet of Governor Jerry Brown. Thanks, Jerry. What a guy.
Well, I put something up about an hour ago that you have to read later.
Okay, what is it?
Because what's happening is in Northern California, Northern Canada, the natives there are getting upset because there are too many polar bears and people are getting killed.
Oh.
But the global warming people saying the polar bears are dying out because of global warming.
Yeah, here's a bit of Jeff's article. This is directly from Jeff's article, where you can go to lidblog.com and read Jeff's stuff every day. Jeff writes, those darn selfish polar bears. The people who promote climate change hypotheses have been writing for years that polar bears will all die because the Earth is going to heat up and all the Arctic ice will melt. But those stubborn polar bears either can't read, or maybe because they want to hurt Al Gore's Set's feelings, because their population is growing. In fact, the population is growing so big that the native Inuit peoples living in northern Canada are being threatened. Oh, that's right, by extinct polar bears. Right, Jeff?
Well, exactly.
Jesus, you can't make this up. You can't make this up.
And, well, it might be that the polar bears are, just being selfish.
Yeah, they're kind of, in my opinion, they have kind of a history of that. What's the name of the town? Somebody in chat will probably know. What's the name of the town where you can go polar bear watching, and they have these big passenger buses on massive wheels and tires, and they kind of drive around this town on the outskirts of the town. And polar bears come up to your bus, and they look at you eyeball to eyeball, like 10 or 15 feet high as they're standing on their rear legs, and they're looking in at you, and people take tours there. Anyway, there's a town in Alaska that does that.
I don't know, because I got to tell you something. I don't think that I would want to go somewhere where I can look at polar bears eye to eye.
Yeah, because if they're standing on their feet, well, that's why the buses are so tall, so that people can do that.
I have National Geo Wild.
Oh, gosh. Again, I say you absolutely cannot rate this stuff. Let me ask you, we've got about, about 8 more minutes left.
Okay.
In the hour. Did you have any thoughts, and I'm sure you had, there were some really, some heart-tugging emotions, I'm sure, when you heard that Michael Avenatti was arrested on suspicion of domestic violence.
Yeah, I was all over that yesterday.
Wasn't that sad? That was so sad.
Actually, TMZ blew it at the beginning, but because they said that it was his wife. It wasn't his wife; it was a girlfriend. Okay. However, here he comes out and he says, well, I'm going to be proven right. And this is a disgusting attack. And all I can think about is all of a sudden he cares about due process?
Yeah, isn't that shocking? That prior his clients, his I think he had 3 clients, and they're right. They're right. Their victims are right. Except for now, maybe.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was the, he had the one that said that Justice Kavanaugh spiked drinks.
Yeah.
So he could rape girls, so they can gang rape.
Right, that was Swetnick, the lovely Swetnick, who recanted, by the way, of 2 others as well, recanted, and other people who were allegedly witnesses, they completely recanted. But Michael...
So, that's my problem, okay? Forgetting the fact that, he might have beaten that poor lady, because I believe in due process. Yes. But all of a sudden, he's a big due process believer.
Yeah. Well, here's another weird thing. I also believe in evidence. So when I don't see evidence, that makes me tend to be a little leery of that kind of stuff. And apparently there is evidence here, just as on the internet there was evidence, apparently, of Keith Ellison having struck a girlfriend or someone in a relationship. And by the way, for those who are interested in California, because this is where it happened, That falls under the 13700 PC section, and specifically 273.5 PC, which is in fact a felony. So anytime that you decide that in a domestic or living situation that one or more persons get hurt by you or others, that's 273.5 in the state of California. Yeah, that's a felony, and it's been so since the 1980s.
Yeah, but again, I believe in evidence also.
Yes.
And
due process.
I think that, it really it hasn't been proven.
No.
That he was the one who made his girlfriend's face all swollen, gave her a black eye.
Dave Milner in chat asks a very pertinent question, and it's very timely. And Dave says, where are all the protesters going after Avenatti? That's kind of weird, don't you think, Jeff? I don't see any, do you?
No, I don't think it's weird, because from what I hear from the liberals, it's biblically prohibited to protest a liberal.
Oh, you might be right. You might be right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And what really bothers me, I got to be honest, is that what Schumer said. Okay? Because Schumer came out today and said, how he's been trying to get everyone to change the Florida laws.
Right, yeah, afterwards.
Well, he said that those tablets that Moses came down with need to be changed. Okay? Because he wants to covet, and it's racist to turn out the lights. And you know what? Who says, it's racist to make people honor their mother and father.
Yeah, and overall, I have sort of and maybe you can provide the answer to this question, Jeff. How do you, does any manufacturer make like whiteout for the Ten Commandments? How do you do that physically? You have to have something to kind of match the stone. How does that happen, though? I don't get that part.
I think that you need. I think God has the whiteout bottle.
Yeah, I think ultimately he sure does.
He carved the stone, I think that's it, and you need this this holy bottle of whiteout. What do you think?
I would agree. Let's see. We got 2 minutes before the top of the hour and the end of the session here. I want to tell people about this. You also wrote a story on the 14th, yesterday, where you quoted a poll. 72% of Americans accuse the mainstream media of dividing Americans and spreading hate. We'll stop right there. Again, just another reason, folks, why you need to read lidblog.com. Do you hear anybody?
Yeah, but if you go on and read, 60% said it was also President Trump.
The story here
but
says...
But more said it was the media.
Yeah, a majority of Americans now sick and tired of the media's hate, and an astonishing 72% now blame the mainstream media for dividing Americans and spreading hate. The perhaps unsurprising poll was released this week by the very liberal Zogby Analytics, showing that the media is failing miserably to fulfill its constitutional duty of informing we the people about current events. But I would say facts and evidence.
That's the whole thing about the Acosta thing that people don't understand. And even the, quote, media, reporters on the media beat don't understand. Jim Acosta was not asking President Trump tough questions. Jim Acosta was giving his opinion and arguing his opinion with President Trump.
Yes.
There was no question asked.
No, he was on a platform. He doesn't really ask questions very much.
And that is not the job of a reporter.
No.
He's in there to get President Trump's opinion or whoever from the administration is talking. He's not there to tell his opinion. No. He's like the husband in a marriage. No one cares about his opinions.
Well, and the first rule about journalism is you're not the story, And
Right.
don't make yourself the story, which is
Thank you.
precisely what Jim Acosta does every day.
And I can't understand, and I keep telling the people at CNN, because people are going to not like this, but I think Jake Tapper is pretty fair in the end. And
I would
Jake
kind of tend to go with that.
But I think that I keep saying, let him sit with Jake Tapper and let Jake give him fairness lessons, or at least make the story about the subject, not make the story about him.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
but the worst story all week?
Oh, yeah. What?
Well, the second worst story was when the Post ran a story about describing how Monica Lewinsky got the stain on her dress. That was like, I got to tell you, it was TMI, But
yeah.
to me, the most horrible story, and maybe because I met him once and I used to work for Marvel, Stan Lee was a really nice man. And Stan Lee wrote those comics and really cared about the reader, about his fans. He would stay all night answering their letters, and he always ended his letters with Excelsior.
Yep.
And
yep.
he was just such a nice man.
I got a no prize from Stan Lee back in the 60s. And a no prize, for the people who don't know, is not a prize. Basically, it was a pre-printed envelope that said, welcome, and here is your no prize. But he signed it. I have a no prize signed by Stan Lee. And yeah, his passing at age 95 was significant. There will never be another Stan Lee. And luckily, there will never be another Jeff Dunitz, and we've run out of time. Folks.
Actually, there are three of us.
Well, you have three accounts.
No, I have two cousins named Jeff Dunitz, but what are you going to do?
All right. Good point. Folks, you've been listening to Jeff Dunitz, and he writes...
BZ, thank you so much. I always love talking to you. You know that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And tell people where you can be found if they want to read your stuff.
I can be found at lidblog.com and also once a week at the Jewish Star newspaper, and also hopefully on Wednesdays on the Lid Radio Show.
Yep. Folks, that was Jeff Dunitz.
Where lately you can hear my guests, but not me.
Hey, we'll take care of it.
But we're working on that.
We'll figure it out. Folks, Jeff Dunitz, you're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show live and direct right here from the SHR Media Studios. Up next, Sackhead Sean. Don't go anywhere. Be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, look. Wow. Hey, look who it is.
Hi.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. In the second hour, just as promised, we have Sackhead Sean, co-owner of the SHR Media Network, right here in the studio.
Good evening.
Where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. All of a sudden, magically, mystically, the studio got lighter.
It happens when I walk into a room.
I know you illuminate everything wherever you go. Hey, it's Beantown Billy that just stepped into chat just because I enjoy saying the name Beantown Billy.
I know, and I'm almost insulted here because, I'm from the same place as Billy. We talk about this all the time. And, you don't have anything cool for me.
Well, okay, I like to say his name because he created the name. So if you had it, I don't know if
Sackhead Sean. You could have been fucking creative.
If you had a really cool name like Beantown Billy, so come up with a really cool name that I
kind of thought Sackhead Sean did it, but apparently that's twice you told me it sucks, so that's fine.
I don't know, but is there something more appropriate to
asshole?
Asshole Sean?
Asshole Sean?
No, I'm not going to sing that. No, that won't work very well. Anyhow, that doesn't work for me. And again, to everybody in chat, welcome to Jeff Dunnett, Simone, Mike, Andy, Whiskey Dale, Dave Milner, Meatontown Billy, and one viewer who is not unmasked because we don't unmask people here in the saloon.
I heard Jeffrey before you went to break.
Yeah, Jeff.
He's a great guest, isn't he?
Jeff was in full throat this afternoon. Oh, this is good. Yeah, in chat, Beatontown Billy says, oh, hey, what about this appellation, masshole?
I am a masshole. There's no doubt about that.
I first heard that years ago, and when I did, it was so abrupt and so shocking to my consciousness that I was actually staggered for a moment, and it took me a second to recognize, oh, that's really clever. The molding of Massachusetts and asshole. Wow.
And appropriate as all get out. It's true. I am a masshole. When I tell people that have never heard that before, and they know me, but maybe hadn't heard that term before, they actually give me that look like, you know what? That's pretty fucking appropriate. And they're not wrong. They're not even close to wrong.
Oh, golly gee, Willikers. I have, I don't know, folks.
Beard.
Yes, I have. Well, you do too.
Yeah.
Folks, if you're watching on the SHR Media YouTube channel, make sure that you subscribe to the SHR Media YouTube channel. Give us a big thumbs up, a big like.
Share it.
And share it, and make sure that that you click on the notifications. There's a little thing in YouTube where you click on notifications, and then anytime that we're on, the SHR Media shows, then notification gets sent right to you, and you can watch our stuff.
Watch our shit.
And Facebook, we're also broadcasting, simulcasting live on the SHR Media Facebook page, where you can like us. Mm-hmm. You can
also share it.
Follow us. You can share.
Love.
You can love us. We love to be loved. I quantified in some of the promo stuff up here the eminently huggably. How did I say that? I said Jeff Dunnett's was the huggably huggable Jeff Dunnett's in one of the promos leading up to this.
I think that's outstanding.
He's just huggable. He really is. Okay, story that just came into my brain.
It's better than the justifiable jovial Jew.
Oh, that's really that has a great sense of alliteration to it. I love the hell out of that. I'm going to have to say, Jeff, if you're still here, if you're still listening, you got to use that. What was again?
Justifiable jovial Jew.
Yeah, the Triple J.
The
or,
JJJ.
Or you could even, if you want to...
Which is a little weird.
Yeah,
but...
it is. But if you want to make a diminutive of that even further, you could call him like J Cubed.
J Cubed.
Yeah,
J
you could say, okay, coming in is Jeff Dunnett, otherwise known as J Cubed. Jeff can rap, can't he?
Oh, yes.
Jeff, I don't have, there's nothing up here right now because I got a whole bunch of tabs all over the place. Jeff is known all throughout the Jewish world as an incredible rapper.
Yes.
And just go to your favorite search engine. And I think he's probably updating this even as we're saying. And
SoundCloud. He's a SoundCloud.
SoundCloud. Enter J3 or JJJ or just Jeff Dunnett's. And if you want, like, he does Hebrew rap like no one else does Hebrew rap. Am I not correct?
Outstanding.
And I don't have anything up right now, so I can't immediately go to one of his, because here's the other thing. If I
hope
played,
he's listening.
If I played his song,
copyright,
then Spreaker would get on our ass,
right? Copyright.
And Facebook and YouTube would get on our ass.
Yep.
And they'd suspend us for 2 months. Not like that hasn't happened before.
Shit.
So
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Jeez,
Juzzy Joe.
I can't wait till the next time I talk to Jeff if he's still listening, because.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff, did you miss all the fun?
Yeah.
Right after you left.
Well, if it isn't my favorite Hebrew rapper.
Yeah. It's fabulous. Well, go enter that in your
J3.
very own favorite search engine, and you'll find a lot of that stuff. Now, I customarily start out my show because I have a couple of things. And I'd like to transition over to this right now. I usually start the second hour if I had somebody on the first hour, and then I go over to this.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
And I do have a happy story. I actually have a couple of them. Here's one from USA Today. Forecast: U.S. oil expected to meet most of the world's growth in demand. Gee, do you think that would have occurred under Barack Hussein Obama? And the answer, I think, is not just no, but hell fucking no, with a big double dip of, I don't know,
I like to look at this as... I like to look at this as Trump lubing up the Obama legacy.
Oh, yeah. This is like, how many violations of the California Lubricant Code are going on right now? You know, I have
CLC?
to tell you. Yeah, I have to tell you that I'm going to come out and kind of out myself. You know how you used to do this when you were a kid? I made sure that Jerry Brown subscribed. He got a full year of Plastic Sheets and Wesson Oil magazine. So, Dave Miller asks in chat, maybe you would know, I do not know. Dave Miller says, I knew that was Joe. Dave asks, is MySpace still around? And I don't know.
I honestly believe it is.
I don't know.
Through all of my interwebbings not too long ago in the past year, I came across a thread talking about that very thing. It might have been Reddit or 4chan.
Because I keep getting, who's linked to Instagram? Facebook?
Facebook is.
Okay, I keep getting Facebook sending me, hey, you're doing well, Bloviating Zeppelin. Why don't you subscribe and get into Instagram? Not so much.
So MySpace is still around.
God, because you don't hear anything about MySpace.
Well, because it's not the same MySpace. It was the original Facebook, for those who know. It's changed quite a bit. They've had to change it. And I think one of the big social media companies bought them out a couple of years ago, and they just maintain it, but not like it used to be.
Yeah, probably Facebook.
By the way,
I
mentioned Reddit. Reddit has a conservative thread that's actually very good. I get a lot of good information. I see a lot of good conversation. They have a huge following under the Reddit conservative channel, I think. So if you're looking for another outlet to discuss, comment, everyone in there is pretty jovial. The people that moderate it, you can tell are conservatives, pretty conservative. And it's pretty much left alone from the other, I forget what they call it,
groups
channels or groups, yeah. And I definitely, I've had some good luck at Reddit. So shout out to the moderators at Reddit, the conservative thread because I have to say it's very well run. They do a good job. I've posted some extremely conservative thoughts on some things, and I was met with accolades and support, which is nice. So.
I got met with accolades back when I was in high school. Luckily, I mean, talk about it. They were some serious accolades back in high school. Anyway, also, I noticed the smooth transition there.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Really, thank you. I'll be here all night.
Nice
your waitress.
segue.
Yeah. I've also signed up for a new site called Spreely, Spreely, like speak freely.
Yes.
I think that's what that's supposed to mean.
That would be witty if it was.
Yes, I think it is, and there might be a semblance of witty there. Anyway, I signed up for Spreely.com, and then there's another one that I've noticed is being promoted on a lot of conservative radios.
Spreely.
Is kind of, I can't think of, Snippy. Snippy.com.
Snippy?
Yep. And so I signed up for Spreely. I haven't signed up for Snippy because the other thing is I lost my password for BZ at shrmedia.com. So I got to figure it. I know. I had it written down, and then all of a sudden one time I didn't have it written down. Just when you want to get back in stuff.
So Snippy is a lot like Twitter, it looks like.
Snippy
500 characters.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that's a good point, because I should also point out that Spreely is similar to Facebook because you don't really have any kind of a limitation in characters, but in Snippy you do. So Snippy, if you want to distinguish between the two, Snippy is more like Twitter, and Spreely is more like Facebook. And there's also Gab, gab.ai, and I'm on Gab as well. Gab got shut down any number of times, and Gab is in a hell of a fight just to exist because Google derezzed them. Their servers derezzed them. They were demonetized if you wanted to contribute or help support them. The various, like PayPal and those kind of folks, they completely disregarded Gab.ai. It crashed. They're just having, a hell of a time.
Well, and it looks like both Spreely and Snippy are marketing themselves as the free social media. I don't even know what the friggin' word would be, but option, which I appreciate. Snippy's got the little crab, Spreely's green, but browsing through very, very quickly, it's definitely a Facebook to Spreely and Snippy to Twitter. So, and good. You know what? We've talked about this before. We talked about this going into the election. I'm going to talk about it right now because it still drives me fucking crazy. You have Facebook and Twitter who are intentionally throttling certain threads and then throttling back other threads. Amazingly, conservatives are the ones being targeted. It's weird how that always happens.
I can't figure
Same thing with Google funneling certain categories and filtering out other categories, etc. And look, I know we've talked about this, and there's going to be lawsuits, and the discussion's going to be, are these places considered now the new town common? Is it so accessible? Is it so common? Is it such a conversational or a medium for free speech and conversation that they can be limited, even as a private business, to what they throttle or throttle back? I still say nay. And I still say I bring this along and I will equate it to the bakeries that won't make gay cakes.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
I know where you're going.
You have to watch it. But entrepreneurs that are out there, Spreely, Snippy, all these other companies, this is an opportunity because there is a lot of people, even if you hate conservatives, but you want to make a lot of money, I don't give a shit. You could be one of the biggest leftists in the world, honestly, but if you can agree that intelligent political discourse should be open and free and nobody should be silenced, even if you don't agree, make the app. People will go to it. I'll high-five you. I can disagree with your politics and still think you make a hell of a product. But, it does suck. Look, Google, I've said this time and again, Most people don't realize how much of your internet runs through Google before it goes anywhere else. Google controls the interwebs.
And that's why I'm going to make a point in just a second,
Go ahead.
but I want you to finish yours.
So, I think this is a great, as a free market person, as a capitalist, as a person who believes...
I want that to be untouched.
But I equate when you're forcing these other social media companies by law to do certain things, I equate it to the political correctness aspect of it. Look, one of the reasons I hate political correctness, and I have this conversation with people, they're like, what's wrong with political correctness? You're keeping people from being offended. First of all, what happens when you get offended? Absolutely fucking nothing. Let's start there. Nothing. Your feelings get hurt. You feel bad for a few hours, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Boo
number
damn who.
two, the damage that's actually been done by political correctness in this country, and I will say this time and again, you don't know who the assholes are. Before, if Jethro wanted to throw on a white hood and use the N-word all day long in town square, because people were just like, oh, he's fucking crazy. But you knew who he was.
Yes.
And they're like, okay, he's an asshole. We know he's an asshole. You've caused assholes to go underground. And now we don't know who the assholes are.
Nor are they going to be revealed,
right?
Because these various social media aspects and outlets make sure that you can never find them. You'll get derezzed off of Twitter or suspended or whatever because you violated certain parameters of Twitter, Facebook, Google,
right? So you
whatever.
Disappear into the ether. You disappear in the ether.
And you have no idea what you did or what incident cause them to do that. You are not in keeping with God's great plan. So you're done. You're gone. You're out of here.
So I think all of that is so dangerous. But like I said, I equate it to the bakers. Look, if you walked into a Somali baker in Minnesota right now and demand that they make a Jewish cake, it ain't going to happen.
No. But damn you if you were to try to instigate a lawsuit against those poor people.
And as much
as God,
and whether this may sound weird or not, but I respect their thought to not do it. I respect their ability to not do it. We can disagree or agree on their religion itself, but if they're an American citizen, right, wrong, or indifferent, they have that freedom. And they should maintain that freedom, in my humble opinion.
And there's probably a cake shop just around the corner.
That will. We'll do, man, maybe it'll do it better. But let the free market decide. And I say that with these social media apps. Look, let them be the assholes they're going to be. I brought this up with Bank of America years ago when we were talking about the big banks and the mortgage crisis and all this other shit. Look, if you hate these big banks, instead of saying to the federal government, hey, you need to do something about it, walk away with your money and go to another bank, credit unions, whatever. It doesn't matter. Whatever you choose, it doesn't matter. But the reality is once you have government come in and regulate that much more, now what are you doing? Now you are bringing government more into your life. And I think there's difference with monopolies. PG&E, the monopoly of the power company, we can have that conversation being entirely different because the service they provided is needed to live. You don't need a bank to live. As much as banks want to tell you, you need a bank to live.
Yep.
You don't need a bank to live.
No, as long as they keep making manufacturing mattresses, it's all good.
Same thing with Facebook and Twitter. You don't need Facebook and Twitter in your life. Look, I can't tell you how many times in the last 3 weeks I've almost pulled the plug on all my social media.
I was actually thinking about doing that with Facebook about maybe about 5 days ago.
Yeah, me too.
I was having a bad day, and I thought,
because, and here's the problem. I was in a very, very intelligent political discourse with somebody I love very much about gun rights. And I literally had to send them a text off saying, hey, I love you. This isn't worth the fight to me. We're never going to disagree. We're never going to agree. That's fine. We don't have to agree. But the person who I was in the discourse with was doing it intelligently. There was no disrespect, nothing.
No F and S words littered about.
And I deleted it, but then somebody else jumped in, and they started to bring it down that road. And I got pissed. And the person who jumped in is on the same side of the aisle that I am. But I was like, no, this is exactly what we want as conservatives. Intelligent discourse.
Yeah, don't get stupid.
I don't want this to be emotional. And so I killed the thread, And I texted, it was my brother, and I texted my brother, and I said, hey, I love you. This isn't worth the fight to me. I don't, and he's good. He was like, hey, nothing's personal. This is politics. Has nothing to do with you and I as brothers, which is great. But it pissed me off that I'm having a really good, intelligent conversation, and I caught it in a split second. I saw it as soon as it went up, and I deleted it right away. That they would jump into that conversation and start throwing out fuck bombs and this, that, and all the other things. And I got so mad that I'm like, why am I dealing with this? Why am I even enslaved to this conversation? Because I could pick up the phone and call my brother right now and have the same conversation just fine. You know? And it drove me crazy. And I said to somebody, and I'm like, God, you know, Facebook pissed me off, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, you know, you don't have to be on Facebook, right? And I was like, son of a bitch, you're right. I don't have to be on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Your finger was hovering. It was hovering.
Yeah, because I wasn't emotional about my argument. I was emotional about the fact that somebody wanted to come in and bring it down into the dregs. And there was no need for it. When the conversation, he and I agreed on certain things, right? Hey, yeah, maybe we should do more for mental illness in this country. And it was on the heels of the shooting in Southern California.
Right.
Maybe we should do. Well, what about background checks? Well, I think we should do more than 10 days. What difference does that make? You're not going to get any more information back in the 15th day. The cool down period is bullshit. If somebody's that pissed, they're that pissed. And within that 10 days, they're going to do something horrific anyhow. If somebody already has a gun, the 10-day waiting period's a stupid theory because they can just go into their safe and grab a gun. It's still a legal gun, whatever. 80% of guns that are used in crimes are obtained and possessed illegally. We agreed on certain things. Look, that's common ground, right? We actually have a place to go now and fight about what we don't want to. But we were having a good thing. He was posting links. I was posting links. It was a fun discourse. I was enjoying it. And then all of a sudden, somebody came in and shot that out, and it pissed me off. And it pissed me off because it's just so disrespectful. There's so many keyboard commandos out there that it drove me fucking crazy. And I was just like, why are we doing this? Why am I on Facebook? And why do I feel obligated to be on Facebook right now when there's a million other things I could be doing, i.e. going to Spreely or going to Snippy? Or, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't care who you are. Make the product to beat Facebook. Please, dear God.
A couple of thoughts about that. Dave brings up an interesting point, and you and I have had this very same discussion as well. Dave says that he uses social media to promote his show. You and I had this discussion last year, and probably a couple of months. I've started to try to pump the social media to try to get SHR a little more attention, and Sackheads a little more attention, and my show a little bit more attention. So, yeah, I'm in the Dave Milner camp with regard to that. And I'll be honest, I use Twitter, and maybe this is lame. Okay, probably it's way lame. I use Twitter as basically a repository for the stories that I want to discuss in an upcoming show. So, folks, if you go to my Twitter feed, and I'm bigfooting myself by saying this, but if you go to my Twitter feed, you're looking at probably a whole bunch of what I am either going to be discussing Tuesday or Thursday. Guaranteed. And that's my fodder, and that's where I keep. That's kind of like BZ's archive of all sorts of stuff.
Well, and I'm in the same boat with you. I'm like, look, I can keep access to the business side of things and get rid of my personal. I had 2 personal Facebook accounts. I killed one completely. Absolutely killed it because it was nothing but vitriol. And then my Sackhead Sean one that I use now on Facebook is I did it just for the show because I was getting so much vitriol on my personal one. I was like, all right, let me create one for the show.
Let's veer this over just a bit.
I'd rather have the vitriol under my stage name, i.e. Sackhead Sean. And that became a personal one just because people were pissed that I weren't, not pissed, but they couldn't find me on my personal one. So now they were finding me on the Sackheads one, and it started to blend lines, and I let it get blended, and I should not have.
Yeah.
And now I get the vitriol and personal, which pisses me off more because I like to be able to separate those a little bit. So I was like, well, I can still do the business side of things. I'll still have access to Facebook for the business. I don't need it for myself. I really don't. I don't need to know who got Jujubee Shake in North Carolina at 8:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't do much about my life on Facebook, which is why everybody knows that my name is not out in social media.
Right.
If anybody thinks that my name is really Biff Zeppi, well, it's like Judas Priest. You got another thing coming.
My favorite is when Facebook tells me that you posted something and I might want to see what she posted. I always laugh every single time, and it says like, or maybe you should like and support her or something like that. But it refers to you, your pronoun as a female, and it always makes me giggle.
Oh God! And with that, let's go to a break. We'll be right back, folks.
Conservative media done right.
That's
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me
in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a
kind of thing.
I hate this commercial.
thing.
Sackheads against tyranny.
Hate it.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Oh, now you're emulating Clint.
Except I'm doing it with rhythm, and not just accidentally with the big nose. Yeah.
Yeah, the final 25 minutes.
23, my friend.
23. Thank God you can
I only
tell
got
time.
paid to 10.
Okay. All right. So
This
what I was
paid promotional programming.
we were talking about social media, and one
Yes,
of the
sir.
things that I was going to say is what we need is a really wealthy conservative. I don't know if it would be the Cook brothers or I don't know, fill in the blank, but someone who would go essentially, and you'd have to go all out for this.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to purchase a search engine. There would have to be a separate search engine to make sure that Google cannot influence you and you own it.
What about like Lycos?
And then there would have to be
Netscape. You could bring it back.
A separate, you'd have to own your own separate massive server farm.
Of course, yes.
Massive server farm to do that.
Have you ever seen them when they have to slaughter a server? Disgusting.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, thank God there are rules and regulations when you put a server down. Because, they scream in all those little ones and zeros. And unless you're wearing like headphones or something like that, it's just like way, way up there. And it's like ear piercing.
What they don't tell you, though, is the belly tastes the best.
Oh.
That's a little known server secret.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
I grew up on a server farm.
Okay. That's good. Do they use that when they? Maybe this is getting a little bit too inside baseball, but do they use the shark bang sticks on servers?
No, they actually
Walk
them
you
onto
put them right up to the forehead of the server and just boom.
You have to do it behind the ear because they have such a large head plate that you have to go right in behind the ear.
Okay.
And if that doesn't work, they actually lay them on almost like a mesh door with water in it. And the water just right away.
Shorts
it right out.
The water will fry everything.
Yes.
But I mean, I thought the instant thing was like the contact to the gun to the forehead, or like you say, in between the plates and where the soft white underbelly of the plates can be found. Yeah, that's a good point.
The easiest thing to do is if you threaten to have Hillary Clinton wipe it, it commits suicide.
Yeah, good point. Dave in chat says agreed.
Which a lot of things around Hillary Clinton commit suicide. Oddly,
funny how that works out.
Anywho,
yeah, moving right along. Conservatives need to win about $200 million and just buy hubs and servers, etc. Yeah, just own all that stuff outright.
Yep. And you actually have to do it in an incremented plan, because if you did it all at once, everybody on the left would find a way to counteract that. You'd have to buy just slowly but surely, like over the course of a year, a bunch of banks. You'd have to do you'd have to have a non-disclosure with people for what you're working on, this whole thing. And then you launch and advertise at the same time, because, if you advertise ahead of time, you're going to be targeted DDoS attacks. Everybody's going to be going after you. You'd have to launch and advertise at the same time and just have it go viral, which it would at this point.
Somehow, I don't know how we would do it. But somehow,
instead of YouTube, you could have RightTube.
We're gonna have, okay. We're gonna. Oh, I'd forgot about that. Yes, you would have to have some kind of a niche in
video, that
world to encompass video, because that's also incredibly important, because you would feature and post videos, movies, etc., self-created and otherwise, all the content. That you would need to support whatever position you're going to be taking.
And conservatives generally use the color red, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to do like a YouTube style site, maybe you could do like RedTube.
RedTube.
Yeah.
Oh, then YouTube would sue you because there's YouTube Red.
Well, right.
Which isn't.
And actually, a little inside baseball on that. Do not Google RedTube whatsoever. If you do, you've been warned.
Okay. You don't know how hard I want to go on the search engine right now. And do that.
Knowing
you really don't know.
Knowing you creepy old man, you wouldn't mind it. But I'm talking to the average person that may not be into certain things. Don't go to RedTube right now.
This is interesting. I just found this video while surfing as you and I were talking, and this is Hillary Clinton. I know, which is enough to set enough people's teeth on edge just by saying that. Stacey Abrams, I think, has lost. I think she's lost her bid.
I already know where you're going. Go ahead.
But Hillary Clinton is talking about Stacey Abrams, and see, okay, here's the other thing. This is again inside the baseball, and Jeff was saying how terrible at technology is. And then, listen, I get chided by people in my own damn chat room, okay, who say that you're a moron when, okay, all right, okay, I'll grant you that.
And they're not wrong.
To a degree. They're kind of not wrong.
Legitimately one of the smartest men I know, but go on.
But, okay, one thing I will say in my favor, the person who customarily sits there, I do have it on Clint.
Yeah.
I will say this, which is like, Clint is like 20 years my junior, okay? And so I feel really good about that. Well, so when you credit me over Sackhead's Clint, man, that is a major compliment. That makes my day. That makes my damn day.
I used to tell you all the time, when I sat in that chair every Wednesday, I used to feel like the stupidest guy in the room. Right, because you guys would sit here and here, and you'd be talking about like these facts and these stats, and you'd quote books from like 1542, and you talk about and I would just literally sit there. I'd feel like the dumbest guy in the room, and it used to drive me batshit crazy. Like, why am I even here? Wait. Well, and if you remember that so-and-so on the date of so-and-so while invading the so-and-so said this quote of blah, 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 that was now transferred into the modern sentence, blah, 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 blah.
And you're thinking, you bastards.
And
you bastards.
I'm literally sitting over there Googling words that you've used to describe this person. I'm like, octogenarian. Oh, shit, that's a good word.
Yeah, I'll keep that octogenarian. That's me. Anyway, what I was going to get to is, I know you're going to laugh, and what the hell, the people in chat may as well laugh as well. Okay, there's a slider over here that says PC USB. You already know where I'm going, don't you? Okay, yeah. So the PC USB.
I tell you how to use that board. Of course I know.
So the PC USB, folks, is used for if we want to play sound effects under Spreaker, for example. Okay, tonight, BZ made an amazing discovery, because I thought, okay, I'm in the SHR Media chat room, and I go, listen, if I want to monitor the YouTube chat room, I got to turn the volume down. Well, wait a minute. If I go to YouTube and I'm not listening to a simulcast of me right now, doesn't that mean that I can play something off this screen right in front of me over this channel right now?
Yes.
I just made that amazing discovery tonight that I have another channel and another screen right in front of me that I can use for access for audio. Can you imagine the world that opened up in front of me? I'm telling you, the angels came down tonight and they went, busy.
And now here comes St. Michael to smack some bitches around.
I know.
I told you that 6 months ago. 6 months ago, BZ.
I know. I just grokked that concept. And having grokked the concept, here's our friend Hillary Clinton talking about Stacey Abrams.
I know Stacey well. She was one of my really strong surrogates in the campaign. If she'd had a fair election, she already would have won. And
right, because it's the conservatives that are cheating. Sean,
how is it? Wait. I don't even understand how you can make such a baseless claim.
There is no evidence.
What was unfair about her election?
Nothing, because I don't really hear this as an issue. In Florida, I hear about the Senate runoff. Georgia rather. I hear about Florida. I hear about the Senate. I hear about the governorship. But I don't hear anything evil.
But this goes back to the Democrats. This is rules for radical 101. You just keep repeating the lie until it's accepted as a fact.
Yes.
There has been no proof, no evidence, nothing. No. She lost a clean election. And look, as far as a Democrat, her side, whatever, she ran the best election she possibly could, in my opinion. I'm sure there was some dirt in there. There's some dirt in every election. But as far as trying to win as a Democrat in Georgia, she ran a decent election from a statistical point of view. I may not agree with her concept or whatever, but it was effective. But she didn't win. And I don't understand how this
here's how it goes now. It's another BZ if-then equation. If now into perpetuity any Democrat loses, it doesn't have anything to do with the Democrats' campaign. It's about every other influential factor except them now.
That really goes to the point of how you have to stay in the arena. You can't just be in the arena, win an election, pass a piece of legislation, and then kind of say goodbye, I'm done. You have to stay in the arena. And voting rights is a perfect example of this.
She's justifying her own existence.
When I was talking to the students, I talked about how absolutely captivated I was by President Johnson's 1965.
Captivated. She was captivated by LBJ.
When everyone's asking why is Hillary still around after the last election, she just told you why she thinks, I told her that you still have to stay in the arena.
That's right.
No, you don't. Well, you've lost twice, you fucking loser.
That's the justification being used right now for who else? Nancy Pelosi.
Yep.
We talked last night, Clint and I, about they're circulating a letter with yesterday 17 names, younger names in the House that don't want to see Nancy Pelosi back in the speakership because they're saying, again, facts and evidence. Look, you dolt, since 2007, you've held the speakership in one form or another. It's time for you to move on, and it's time to let some fresh blood in there, and she ain't having none of it.
What happened last time she was speaker? They lost.
They
got destroyed on every level. And look, they took the House over this time, but still, if you look at all the statistics, Trump lost less than the previous 3 presidents before him. There's a lot of things we can discuss, but the simple reality is Pelosi has a track record of giving the House away. She leads Democrats into failure. And as much as I don't agree with these younger progressive Democrats, they have the finger on the button.
They have
and they've
a
been
good
saying
argument.
They've been saying it for the last 4 years that they've been. The last time she was going to be elected as or potentially elected as leader, they screamed from the top of the hills, this is not who we want. Then when they lost the House, they went right after the old guard. They went after her, Chucky Schumer, people like that, who've been in Congress since Christ was a baby, and they still do the same shit that they did 30 years ago. Now, listen, I don't agree with progressive Democrats' policy, but as far as them identifying what the problem is with their party,
as far as access,
yes,
exactly,
they're dead nuts on.
Yeah, but I heard this today on CNN, and I found this a unique perspective as a what they're attempting apparently to trot out as a pro-Pelosi.
Pro-Losi?
Pro-Losi. A prolapsed Pelosi. I'm sorry. That just came into my brain right there. I know that's giving you that's a bad brain theater tonight. You're gonna have to bleach bit that thing out.
If I was gonna eat something after the show,
not now.
Good now, thanks.
Not now. But what they were saying on CNN with regard to Pelosi is, this is great. This is a wonderful stratagem and an excellent tactic. Let's get rid of the person that won the House back for us. So that's what they're trotting out there as a positive Pelosi aspect is, hey, she got us the House back. She's just doing her job. That's the major reason why she needs to be still installed as Speaker of the House.
But the reality of the situation is historically, that the party in power loses the opposite. So
on midterms, whoever's in the White House
has a tendency
loses a House, loses the Senate, loses bigly. Well,
bigly.
and I think too, a lot of people honestly don't like the fact that one party maintains all the power at once. And look, the Republicans didn't do much with theirs, good or bad. There's some things that they should have done, I think, that they didn't do. But the reality of the situation is there was no Republican Obamacare that was forced down people's throat. There was no major changes done to the country, which they had 2 years. They could have done some things with it. I wish they had done more. But the simple reality is people have a tendency to not want one power to be maintained all the way around.
Well, that's sort of that's an excellent argument for checks and balances. Is that not?
That's exactly what it is. And like I said, I can agree with that to a point because especially with Obamacare, we saw what happens. Pelosi was the idiot who came out and said, you'll find out what's in it when we pass it.
Yeah.
And this country bark like seals. Okay, Nancy.
God.
But I hope this proves that they learned a lesson. Maybe they did learn a lesson. And when you have the presidency and you have things like the Supreme Court or on the ballot, then yeah, I have to vote this way because I need to maintain the integrity. When you get to a midterms and it's like, oh, well, maybe we should round things off. Okay. I don't necessarily agree in general, but that doesn't mean that it's not understandable, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I know there's going to be people in our chat room who are ready to yell at me right now.
I haven't been in the chat room. I'm going to have to go back to the chat room over here because the friggin' pointer here is freezing up on me. If I can get it to go over here. Well, apparently it's not gonna work for me. But in any event, any thoughts about what's been happening now? It looks to me that I can figure out. It looks like the Florida governorship is it's going to be kept by Scott.
Yeah,
and it looks like DeSantis.
Will
get the governorship. And then it looks like the Senate is going to be held by Scott.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's going to be another week before they get all the final count, because now they're having to go back to a hand count.
Well, and my biggest thing is
Florida. I used to think that California was ridiculous.
Florida, we can't seem to quit you.
My God, it's like I can't quit you, babe.
Look,
God,
here's the thing. When you start talking about corruption and you start talking, look, it's funny how they only find Democrat votes. Same thing in Arizona. It's funny how they only found these Democratic votes. Georgia, I'm sure that the reason why she thinks she got an unfair election is because they were supposed to find more Democrat votes. And maybe there was enough integrity in Georgia where it's not happening. But look, how many times has Florida had an election issue? Look, I'm waiting for them to come out and say Al Gore is now president.
Yeah, historically back in 2000.
Right.
And the phrase that everyone will remember from now into perpetuity, that's, as a matter of fact, I think there was a garage band named this. The Hanging Chads.
Yes.
Remember the Hanging Chads?
The Hanging Chads. Oh, my gosh. That's amazing. I'm impressed.
And I think there was a garage band probably called Hanging Chads.
I am impressed.
Amongst other things.
Yeah, well, But look,
Hugh Hewitt wrote a book in the mid-2000s, and he writes books from every now and then, every 2 or 3 or 4 years, something like that. And its title, and I'd love to get him on the show just for 5 minutes to have him explain the title of the book, but it was, let's see if I gotta get this right. If it's not close, then they can't cheat.
Right.
And it was all about the history of cheating, essentially, in close elections by the Democrat Party. And it was true in 2000, and here it is revisiting things again. If I can find this, there was a... darn it. I said it for quite some time, and I also emphasized it last night, and somebody reaffirmed it, and I'm going to have to try to find the story, but I'm not seeing it just yet. What I said last night is, and I'd like your opinion. We got about 3 more minutes before the end of the show.
Go ahead.
And that's this. I think what's occurring in Florida is a test run. It's a test bed for 2020. And what I mean by that is they're trying to see how far they can push things, how far the envelope can be pushed itself before it really becomes so outrageous that they begin to acquire actual pushback or objections. And I think this is a trial run, if you will.
I agree.
For 2020.
I agree. Look, I mean, the reality is every year they test something different. And we talk about Democrats, we talk about the Progressive Party, we talk about not the average guy who's walking down the street, Progressive Party, I love Hillary or whatever. Like that, they're not that dude. I'm talking about those who are behind the scenes directing, dictating. They believe in a part of the 100-year plan where it is a slow series of nudges. Every year they take a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more.
The book that was recommended to me.
Cass Sunstein, Nudge.
Yep, exactly.
And it's an amazing insight into how, and that's literally how to win elections long term. It doesn't matter if you win this one. You're talking about setting things up so in 100 years you have absolute power. And it's written under the understanding of what happened with communist Russia, how you can't just rush in and take power all the time. You have to slowly lead people to make the decision that you want.
Frog in the boiling pot.
Little bit at a time.
And see, that's the thing that I find predominantly disturbing about the GOP and conservatives is the fact that they don't have a cohesive plan. They don't have a long-term plan. And they don't have the ability to forecast and assemble around each other like year to year or like a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. If there's one thing you have to hand to the Democrats in general, except now it's going to be dicey with regard to Pelosi, because that'll be another issue. But in general, they really are cohesive. They really rally and circle the wagons.
I think to a point, in kind of a good way, right? If you're a conservative, to say you have a 100-year plan is to say that you're trying to seize total control of the government long term, right? So if you're living under kind of a true constitutional conservative, you're like, well, the people will make their decision as we go. We have our scruples, we have our beliefs, we have these things that we will hold on to and try to spread the word of and try to get other people to understand and believe with us. But I think if you have a 100-year plan, then you have a 100-year plan to overthrow other parties. And look, I hate the 2-party system. I think we need a 20-party system. I've said that time and again. Whereas, and I think the other thing is more often than not, most people agree with the Republican platform 85%. I think the average person, they may not say it in public, especially California where it's all about emotionals and good feelings.
And especially now. Oh, my
but
God.
Look, in this last election, I think summed it up, the Trump presidency, Trump being elected. People said one thing, and then they did another. Why? Because, in social settings, and, to quote Jack Nicholson from A Few Good Men, deep down in places you don't talk about at parties. Yeah. It's that thing where it's like, no, on the up and up, everything's great. And then you go and you pull the handle and you're like, those fucking people are crazy. And I think
ain't going there.
And I think Republicans and the GOP and those on the right have a tendency to understand the vast majority of people, when push comes to shove, 85% of the platform's okay. There's a few of the social issues, gay marriage and welfare and all the other stuff that they may not agree with. But what ended up happening is with progressive Democrats is they are a complete one-issue voter. If you're LGBT, that's all you're voting with the Democrats for. If you're in the welfare state, whereas old Blue Dog Democrats, I know plenty of old Blue Dog Democrats who are like, hey, I like my guns. I like my company making as much money as it can.
I like free trade. But I just wish we'd help out, Billy down the street a little bit more.
But you'll never hear from him anymore. There
Nope.
are no more Zell Millers. There are no more Joe Liebermans.
There are no more Joe Bidens.
Or Joe Biden. Joe
Biden back in the day was a blue dog Democrat.
Slow Joe is a dying breed as well. This is an important point that Dave Milner just broke in chat. Congratulations to SHR Media Network's very own Shannon Wright. She just became chairman of the Baltimore City Republican Party tonight in the presence of her husband, Michael. Pastor Shannon Wright was sworn into office last night. So congratulations to Shannon Wright, who is now the new Baltimore City Republican Party chairwoman.
And I'm trying.
That's fabulous. Congratulations.
I think it's absolutely outstanding. Wonderful people. And
in Baltimore.
Well,
she's got her work cut out for her, doesn't she?
Oh, by the way, we did find out that proposition ballot that we got the night of the midterm elections that was from Baltimore to approve murder through city ordinance was in fact a fake.
But it was fun to talk about.
It was amazing. And still to this day, may have been one of the best things that's ever happened in an election. I don't care if it was fake or not. I freaking loved it.
Okay, we're out of time. That's it. Hey, it's been Sackhead Sean.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
And Sackhead's BZ. We're wrapping up the saloon tonight, and we'll be back next Tuesday. Can you believe that next Thursday, a week from now, is Thanksgiving?
I can, because I saw it on a calendar.
Holy moly. And let's see, not next Thursday, but Thursday after, I've got Ron Edwards coming on the show.
Outstanding.
So
great guest.
That should be a good time.
Ron's a wonderful person.
Had by all. And on that note...
we gonna...
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you've been listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show live and direct right here from the SHR Media Network, where I was broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. I want to thank our promotional considerationists. I just created a new word, promotional considerationists. Interesting. The Boeing Company, if it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. The Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. And, of course, Pratt & Whitney engines that create thrust you can trust. If you want to find out more about me, you can go to bloviatingzeppelin.net. That is my blog there in the blogosphere. I want to thank everybody who was here tonight. My first hour guest, Jeff Dunitz. You can find him at lidblog.com. Demi the Calico Studio Cat is rubbing around Sackhead Sean over there. Great little kitty cat. I am blessed to be listened to by so many great people. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here in chat. And also thanks for listening to me in retrospect in podcast as well. Folks, have a great weekend. God bless. Take care. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.